Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's Deep Sport Insights, your new home for MMA breakdowns and fight picks. In today's episode, we're breaking down the 13 fights on the UFC Vancouver card. This is a fight card that's headlined by a middleweight bout between Reinier De Ridder and Brendan Allen. We also have a pretty cool co-main event between Kevin Holland and Mike Malott. So those will be the two fights that we break down, so make sure you stay tuned. Make sure if you haven't already, like the video, and let's get right into it. Before we get into the actual picks, just want to say in our last video where we uploaded for UFC Rio, we did pretty well. We went 3-1-1. The one fight obviously that didn't happen was the Walter Walker, the absolute lock of the whole video. Obviously that fight didn't happen. And then the only loss we had was Joel Alvarez didn't get the finish. Everyone had Joel Alvarez to get that finish, myself included. For some reason, he just beat up Vicente Luque for 3 rounds. Although that fight could have been stopped in the first round and that second round, and for some reason the ref didn't stop it. But yeah, he beat him up to a 30-26 scorecard. Again, could have been finished multiple times. Unfortunate, otherwise we would have had a clean sweep. But again, we continue to put out winning records every single video. We hope to keep that going with this one. I do have a lot of dog picks on this card, so hopefully you stay tuned. I wouldn't parlay this fight card, so right up front, guys, this is not a good fight card to parlay. This is a great one to know if you know your betting angles. You can make some good money just dropping singles on this one. And with that, let's get into the first fight. So let me minimize myself before I forget, because those of you who've been here long enough know I forget every single time to minimize myself. All right. So I'm going to put myself in a corner here. And let's start breaking down this first fight. So in our first fight, we have a women's bantamweight bout between hometown Canadian Melissa Cronin, and she's making her UFC debut against Brazil's Tainara Lisboa. Both fighters are 34 years old, but Lisboa comes in with a bit more experience. This will be her 10th professional fight, while it's Cronin's 8th, but Cronin's UFC debut. Stylistically, this one should be a kickboxing battle. I don't expect Lisboa to have wrestling or cardio to consistently take Cronin down or pressure her over 3 rounds. The line actually opened with Cronin as the underdog, but money has since come in on her, making her the slight favorite heading into fight night. This is a close fight, but I'm leaning on the hometown edge with Cronin. It's not the best fight to bet. If you want to keep your money in your pocket, this is the first fight. It's women's MMA. It's low-level women's MMA. If you don't know, you're going to know. I'll probably just keep my money in my pocket. Otherwise, Cronin's the pick if you need to pick a side. I won't be betting it. And then Cronin by decision. I definitely don't see a finish in this fight. But I think last time I checked, the fight to go the distance was minus 450. So no real value there either. Because, again, both these women have gaps in their game. And Lisboa's been finished twice herself. So it's kind of hard. It's hard to pick in this fight. But that's the breakdown. Likely to stay standing. And in the standing game, I'll take Melissa Cronin, who's slightly longer, slightly taller, and the better kickboxer, who has the finishing upside. She's a side, small lean. Those are the picks. Moving on to our next one, we have a middleweight bout. A really interesting middleweight matchup between Azamat Bukov and Yusri Belguri. So Bukov is a solid prospect out of American top team with a ton of finishing upside. He's 16 of his 20 professional wins come by finish. He's strong, explosive, well-rounded, but his biggest weakness is his gas tank management. Even though he's gone 5 rounds and won them back in LFA, he tends to fade after midway point of the fight, especially once the second round begins. On the other side, Belguri is a 6'5" striker who trains with Alex Pereira, and he brings the same plodding, low volume but high impact kickboxing style to the octagon. He has a massive 5-inch height and 7-inch reach advantage in this fight. Belguri picks his moments and carefully and accurately when he lets his hands go, but he has low volume that often costs him the rounds if he doesn't get the finish. That's why most of his losses come by decision. Stylistically, this is a true class of power versus range. If Bukov can get this fight to the mat early, he will likely find finish or rack up control time to win a decision. But if Belguri can keep this fight standing, use his jab and range, and force Bukov to chase him, he could slow the ATT fighter down and take over late. Given this matchup, Bukov minus 300 feels a bit overpriced considering the size gap and cardio concerns. But my most confident play is over 1.5 because for Bukov to win, he's going to need to get the wrestling going. I think wrestling going early against a 6'5" opponent will be difficult, but I do think he eventually gets those takedowns. When he gets those takedowns, I think he's going to want to compose himself and then eventually work to the finish. I think he'll come late in the second round or in the third round for that finish. So I do like over 1.5 rounds. Could be a little dangerous. Round 2 to start is also a really good bet here. But not the highest level fight. This could be an upset, but I don't see Belguri upsetting Bukov by like a big knockout early. I do think Bukov is going to own the first round. I just don't know if he's going to get the finish in the first round, and I don't see him getting the finish in the first round because of Belguri's level and experience and who he trains with. I think his size also and his physicality should be able to slow Bukov down enough in this where that finish comes later than earlier in this fight. And that's the pick, that's the lean. Moving on to the next one. Another women's MMA bout between Stephanie Luciano versus Ravina Oliveira. So Ravina Oliveira is coming back from an injury and she's took over 2 years off and she's coming down a weight class. So a lot of factors there, but she is predominantly a grappler. So that's something to keep in mind because that could be exactly what's needed against to beat Stephanie Luciano. But these women size up pretty well. By the way, I watched the weigh-ins today, guys. So for all fighters made weight, everyone looked good. No one looked like they were sucked out. So weight is not going to be a factor. Some people looked extraordinary, but nobody looked bad. So I just want to put that out there. I rewatched the weigh-ins. These fight picks are coming out after I saw them on the scales already. So going into that, Stephanie Luciano, higher volume, more experience. She is the natural. What do we have here? Strawweight here. But she sizes up well against Oliveira. She definitely puts up more volume. She will come forward. Oliveira has 6 knockouts against tomato cans. Doesn't have significant volume in the UFC, but she does look to grapple and wrestle. If she can grapple and slow down Luciano, she can see herself edge out a close split decision win here. But I don't know what I'm getting out of a fighter. That I would expect the best Ravina Oliveira to be coming back to the octagon. I don't know what she's going to look like, being away for so long with the injury. And she wasn't amazing in the first place, right? So if you see, a step down from her former form, is that a step down that we can afford at the UFC level? Is kind of where I'm going. I don't think so, and that's why I just don't want to bet this. Like, I don't think Stephanie Luciano's worth minus 300, so you have to bet $300 on her to win $100. I really don't want to bet this. I would like fight to go the distance, or at least over 1.5, but I don't think there's any value there. Unfortunately, this is just a pass spot. This is one of those spots where you can't really bet. If you try to squeeze this onto a parlay, you're going to pay for it. And that's the type of card this is. This is not an easy card to parlay. If you want to parlay, you parlay your best 3 long shot picks together and you hope you turn a small profit into a big bag. And that's what you can hope for, because this is not something you can parlay 8-9 fights together and be like, oh, I feel so confident about what's going to win. Definitely not. I think it's hard to even put 5 favorites together on this card that are going to win. So yeah. And if you think I'm wrong, go ahead and put your 5 favorites in the comments. We can come back to the comments after this. We'll see who got it right or wrong. If you think you can put together 5 favorites, go for it. Next up, we get into the prelims. So we have a fight between Kyle Prepolec and Drew Dober. Okay, and right here, this is a perfect example of what I mean for this fight card. Kyle Prepolec, I'm going to keep mispronouncing his name, so I apologize if Kyle's somehow watching this, or any member of his family, or the Prepolecs. But Kyle Prepolec's here because they sacrificed him a few months ago to Benoit Saint Denis on short notice because Benoit Saint Denis' opponent pulled out. I think it was Gamrot he was supposed to fight. I completely forgot. So they needed someone on short notice, and they got Kyle Prepolec. And he survived until the second round, and then Benoit Saint Denis put it on him and tapped him out in the second round, which is fine. He didn't get knocked out. I don't think he sustained a significant amount of damage. He could have taken a lot more damage in a fight with Benoit Saint Denis. So now he's up against Drew Dober. Now this one's interesting because Drew Dober, we know, is violent. He's dangerous. A lot of finishing upside, but yeah, you know what? Let me read some of my notes first. I kind of go off tangent. I'm trying to be a lot more structured with these breakdowns because people like the efficiency. So let's go right into that. So, Drew Dober, he's been in the UFC since 2013, which means 12 years of wars and arguably starting to show on his body. He's been knocked out cold in his last 2 fights, and the wear and tear is becoming undeniable. At his best, Dober's dangerous pressure fighter with strong wrestling, heavy hands, and relentless forward style. But his flaws are glaring. When he doesn't get his early finish, his defense collapses. His hands drop and his cardio fades hard. For Prepolec, this is his do-or-die moment in the UFC. He matches up well physically, his finishing ability both on the ground and on the feet, and will have home crowd pushing him on. The big question is whether he can bring the fight to Dober early and set the tone. He has the tools to finish the fight. I just don't know if he has the volume or pressure to win on a scorecard-based fight if this does go the distance. I do think Prepolec, with his 10 KOs in his career, although again tomato cans, can find the glass chin of Drew Dober. And I think Drew Dober's chin is more glass than it is the concrete it used to be. 13 years of punishment in the most stacked division in the UFC does take a toll on you. So that's why I cannot defend putting minus 450 on Drew Dober to go into enemy territory and come back with a win pretty confidently, because he's been finished many times. Again, he's 27-15. So he doesn't even have a 60% win rate, right? Or no, he's exactly at a 60%. Maybe like 59. He's right around that, like 60% win rate overall. And at minus 450, you have to imply that this guy wins like more than what, 85% of his fights. That's crazy. So Kyle Prepolec is really live here. It's just basically KO or bust. If you like Prepolec, take him by finish. Otherwise, I'm pretty confident that Drew Dober gets this done, but I don't bet on him. I'm pretty high on Drew Dober getting this win. I'm not putting any money on Drew Dober at minus 450 odds. If I like something, I might try to find Drew Dober by finishing the second round. But again, I'll probably pay next to nothing, because first round is probably minus 150 because Drew Dober goes hard early and then he starts to fade. But if he can carry himself just early into the second round, we saw Kyle Prepolec fade against Benoit Saint Denis in the second round, then we can kind of see where these two fighters start to intersect at that point. And round two starts to look like there's some good value opportunities if you like the Drew Dober side. I don't see myself betting on Prepolec either, to be honest. I'll probably just take a small shot at Drew Dober round two finish. Don't know if he gets a submission or KO. But the other side is this fight does not go the distance. It's pretty safe too. I just don't think there's a lot of value on it. So that's the breakdown. On to the next one. We have a middleweight bout between Danny Barlow and Djorden Santos. I am going with the dog here. I'm going off the notes for this. I'm going to tell you why. I like Danny Barlow. I think he's a technical striker. I think he does well moving on the outside. I think he's smart. He's cerebral. He picks his shots. He won't rush when he has his fighters hurt. He won't go for that kill right away. He'll make sure he's piecing, and make sure he keeps himself out of danger. Now, saying that, he's coming off his first knockout loss and first loss period against Sam Patterson. Now, that fight was at welterweight at 170 pounds. This is at 185. I think after getting knocked out, Danny Barlow said, oh, geez, I'm going to go up a weight class. He might blame the weight cut or whatever, that he couldn't take that punch too well. My concern is Danny Barlow throughout his career has enjoyed a significant reach and height advantage over that welterweight division. Sam Patterson neutralized that height and size advantage because Sam Patterson himself is like 6'3". So he actually had the better reach and stuff. And Danny Barlow was picked apart within 2 minutes of that fight, finished, right? When everyone thought Danny Barlow would be the significantly stronger and slicker striker. Because Sam Patterson is actually known for his jiu-jitsu. So go figure. But that made sense. The reason that makes sense, and kind of that's the move that happened there. So the reason I bring that up and the reason that matters for this fight is because Danny Barlow is going up to middleweight now to have this fight against Djorden Santos. He's giving up all his height and reach advantage. And I think that's the advantage he's enjoyed throughout his career, because he's primarily a slick striker that enjoys staying outside and counter-striking. It's like that Izzy style. If you're longer than the other fighter and you have good reflexes, that's a very comfortable style to fight with, and nobody ever gets combos off on you. Djorden Santos' style is come forward, eat shots, and just keep throwing and just keep walking your opponent down. So Danny Barlow will likely find himself backing up and just keep throwing shots, counter shots. I see him looking slick and winning early, but again, he's not going to have as much success as he had early in his career. I think his confidence will dwindle because Djorden Santos, as big as he is, they have a similar reach, right? So I think Djorden Santos will eventually break Barlow by walking him down and coming forward, because Djorden Santos doesn't have that amazing speed, but Barlow, as he kind of stay outside, dance around the cage, stay alive, he's going to be working a lot more. He's going to have a higher work rate. But when Djorden does come in, he's going to throw bigger shots. He's going to look powerful. And as you see Barlow fade, optically, you're going to see Barlow fade throughout this fight, and you're going to see Djorden Santos continue to apply pressure, seize opportunities, and also have that fire behind him to know that, hey, I'm down on the scorecards likely, and I got to get this finish. I got to chase this. I'm going to throw up the more volume. Danny Barlow, we can see start to try and coast. So this makes the perfect storm where a guy can edge it on the scorecards or get a finish late. Because again, Barlow just got finished by a long, lanky fighter. Santos not only has the same size as Patterson because this is at middleweight, but he's also stronger, bigger. He carries more power than Patterson, right? And he also has amazing jiu-jitsu, so Danny Barlow can't bail to his jiu-jitsu here against Jourdain Santos. I really like Jourdain Santos as an underdog in this fight because there's no bailing out to the jiu-jitsu or grappling for Danny Barlow here. He's going to be getting walked down, plotted for, unless he comes forward and tries to just beat up Santos, but he doesn't engage in those phone booth boxing style fights. So I see all the elements I need here for a perfect underdog pick. And I'm going with Jourdain Santos to upset Danny Barlow. I like Jourdain Santos to get a late finish round 3 or decision as well as a solid fight prop. Yeah. Let me know what you think about that one in the comments as a dog pick. Next up, we got Bruno Silva versus HyunSung Park. I'm going to read my notes for this one because I know I had some good ones here. Okay. We got a fun flyweight fight matchup next between Brazil's Bruno Silva and South Korea's HyunSung Park, a fight that perfectly matches the experience versus potential. Bruno Silva enters this one on a 2-fight skid, but let's put this into context. His losses come against Manel Kape and Joshua Van. 2 elite prospects who could both be fighting for the title in the near future. We know Joshua Van's fighting for the title in December. Across from him, he'll be HyunSung Park, who's an exciting young talent coming off his first career loss, a short notice fight against Tatsuro Taira, where he got submitted in the second round. Now, that was a big step up in competition on short notice because he filled in. The kid is good. He's probably the second or third best prospect coming out of Asia, with Tatsuro Taira being number 1. He just bit off more than he can chew, and he paid for it. Now, he's going up against Bruno Silva. Now, don't overlook Bruno Silva, because what could be a misunderstanding here is people say, oh, well, one was a big step up in competition, so don't worry, he'll win this next one. It's kind of like your patchy mix moments, or there was another one in a similar position before. I digress. Anyways, but these are those kind of fights where you think, oh, well, he lost that because it was a big step up, but he's going to win this one because this is an older dude. This is a guy who's on a losing streak. But again, Bruno Silva's losses are to Manel Kape and Joshua Van. Joshua Van breaks records with his striking accuracy, the volume he puts up, and he'll walk him down. And he eventually broke down Bruno Silva, as he breaks down a lot of people, because Joshua Van continues to get better in the boxing, and Bruno Silva just couldn't keep up. But he did really look good. They even clipped Joshua Van a few times. Okay, I want to bring that to. I want to make sure that's recognized. HyunSung Park can't really bail out to the grappling, which is his specialty, because Bruno Silva is really slick with the jiu-jitsu himself. He has 4 submission wins. He has averages 1.8 takedowns per fight in the UFC as well. He strikes at the same rate as HyunSung Park. He even has more knockouts. If anything, Bruno Silva is susceptible to being knocked out, especially if you go to his body. That's what Manel Kape did with the knees and the teep kicks. Joshua Van, obviously, we know the volume he throws to the body and the shots there. But stylistically, HyunSung Park doesn't throw to the body. Right? He throws the low kicks, he throws the jabs, the crosses, and then he wants to mix in the takedowns. He wants to get inside. Bruno Silva can neutralize HyunSung Park's game. If anything, like, knowing that, what do you see HyunSung Park's really able to do to Bruno Silva? And the idea is like, well, Bruno Silva is not going to be able to get inside. HyunSung Park is longer. He'll just jab his way around the outside and piece his way up to a decision victory. That's possible, but Bruno Silva has fought longer fighters before. He always pushes the action. We know he goes after in his fights. There's always the knockout upside, the knockout danger, or the finish danger at every moment in a Bruno Silva fight. You can't look away because he's right there in the pocket chasing these fighters down. I think he can make HyunSung Park really uncomfortable. I think he brings another level of competition quickly that HyunSung Park hasn't seen, because HyunSung Park went from fighting no names to fighting the number 2 contender on short notice, but now he's still fighting a ranked opponent in the UFC. This is still one of the best flyweights on the planet, right? So I think we need to give some respect to Bruno Silva and the level of competition that he's actually fought. I think I have to go with Bruno Silva in this fight because of the odds, the experience, the capability, and he's not too far gone in terms of age. He's only 35 years old, and I don't think HyunSung Park can expose his weakness, which is the body shots, whereas Bruno Silva can neutralize almost all of HyunSung Park's game. Plus, he has the finishing upside himself with strong, powerful strikes. He has knockout wins. He pressures for and he'll control. Plus, if he gets to clinch control or cage control, it'll be really hard because of his height and leverage for HyunSung Park to try and shed that. So these are all the type of concerns that I have, which will make me take another dog in the spot and go with Bruno Silva. Moving on to the next fight. Charles Jourdain versus Davey Grant. Okay, again, I'm not going to read the script for this one because, again, I like this. So Charles Jourdain is now making his bantamweight debut for this fight, and I think that's great because he looks absolutely jacked if you're following him on Instagram. I think Charles Jourdain is going to have a few X factors in this fight. I think we're about to see, and this I factor this into my breakdown. I'm not factoring or breaking down a Charles Jourdain that I've seen recently. I'm expecting this Charles Jourdain to be the best Charles Jourdain that we've ever experienced or we're ever going to see. The reason for that is he's going to be nice and big for this division, and he'll match up with everyone well. Size will never be an issue. We know he has amazing cardio, and now he's going to bring that physicality and strength as well. We know he has slick jiu-jitsu, and he's been building on that the whole time. And now he has a striking. Now he has also some motivational factors. One, he's fighting in Canada. He's wanted to fight in Canada for so long. His last 2 fights have been canceled, and now he finally gets to fight. I think he's super amped up and ready to go. And 3, his brother just made it to the UFC on the Dana White Contender Series of this season. So I think he's super hyped to get this win, start calling some shots because he's the main event for the prelim card in Canada here. He gets this win. He gets it in good fashion. He moves to, main card status where we're going to start seeing Charles Jourdain on main cards. We're going to start flying Charles Jourdain out because we're excited to see him fight in Brazil. We're excited to see him fight in France and in Saudi Arabia. So that's what's next for Charles. And I think he wants that because he could influence, bring his brother along for these fights, getting his brother on these cards because he's really excited about being the first brother duo in the UFC. The first Canadian brother duo in the UFC. Apologies. So a lot of X factors here for Charles Jourdain, and I think he's coming in super motivated. He made weight, looks great. I know he's going to rehydrate well. So like everything I see about Charles, I like. There's not a single, oh, that looks okay. Everything looks phenomenal for him heading into this fight. And then this side we have Davey Grant, 39-year-old Davey Grant. And he's like, oh, I'm going to be biased in my breakdown. I love Charles Jourdain, Canadian, blah, blah, blah. I'm a huge Davey Grant fan. I make good money betting on Davey Grant, especially as an underdog. I know I made money on that Damon Blackshear fight because I knew that stylistically, Damon Blackshear wasn't able to get him down, control him on the first round as he fades. Davey Grant's grappling is far good enough and technical enough to neutralize all of Damon Blackshear's game and to keep it a close fight. I was looking for maybe a late finish or a decision. We got the decision for Davey Grant, and I think it was well-deserved. I call that fight. So I'm really good at calling his fights. This is going to be a tough one for Davey Grant to win. I know a lot of people like to fade Canadians, and that's why they might like Davey Grant here. And plus, Davey Grant paid well as an underdog upset. But he's 10 years older here. He sizes up well with Charles Jourdain. The problem is his strength is really in his grappling and his fight IQ. He just doesn't have the power, explosiveness, or the finishing upside on the feet at all. He's a good technical boxer himself, but he'll eat shots. Against Charles Jourdain, he's going to be far slower, and he's going to eat the bigger shots because Jourdain throws dynamic shots. His striking is creative, and he uses a lot of knees and elbows that slice and damage his opponents. And he's called Air Jourdain for a reason because he'll throw those flying knees and he'll just explode out of nowhere. And he can do that well into the second, third round. If there's a fourth round, he's ready for it. His cardio is amazing. Where Charles Jourdain could have trouble is if Davey Grant holds him up against the fence, grinds him out, slows that fight down, kind of how Blackshear did that to himself. If Davey Grant's able to bring that to Charles Jourdain and just hold him against the fence, really stop that striking in the space, just make Charles work from the spot there, he can slow this fight down to where it's about even, and then eventually if it starts getting to the mat, Davey Grant keeps this very competitive with Charles Jourdain on the mat, because Charles Jourdain has slick offensive jiu-jitsu. His defensive jiu-jitsu leaves things to be desired. He can leave his neck out there. He makes mistakes, whereas Davey Grant doesn't make as many mistakes. He has better sweeps. He's more defensive. He has better defensive jiu-jitsu than Charles Jourdain for sure. And offensive jiu-jitsu, I'd say they're both the same. I say they're just as much of a threat to each other, except Davey Grant has really good jiu-jitsu defense. You're not going to submit. I feel pretty confident that he's Charles Jourdain is not going to submit Davey Grant, even though a bunch of people have him, Charles Jourdain by Gilly. No, I think Charles Jourdain is going to piece up Davey Grant. He's going to get a vicious TKO finish, probably back up against the fence and throw like a vicious knee. He's looking for a highlight reel. He's looking to make a statement. He's looking for 50K. Give me Charles Jourdain money line in this fight with pretty high confidence, and give me Charles Jourdain to be the first guy to finish Davey Grant by KO. I think there's a significant chance that happens in this fight, and that's my lean. Moving on to the main card, we have Kyle Nelson versus Matt Frevola. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. There's a stat here. Yeah, 7 straight fights for Matt Frevola have ended by KO. 6 of those in the first round. He's been KO'd in those. He's gotten the KO in some of them, all right? Now let's look at Nelson's last 2 fights. Also ended in the first round by KO. He's been KO'd. He's gotten the KO. So in these guys, if you look back their last 2 fights, end by KO 100% of the time in the first round. Look back at Frevola's fight, 6 out of 7, 83% or 80 something like that percent of fights end by KO in the first round. So the value player for me is very easy. This fight ends by KO round 1. Who gets it? I don't give a shit. All right? Someone's going to get knocked out in the first round. Frevola's chin is gone, but he's more dangerous. He's a bigger glass cannon out of these two, right? He has a big pop, big power, big damage. Very easy to disintegrate under pressure himself. Kyle Nelson coming off a pretty long layoff of a year. Those last 2 fights didn't look great for him. Who knows where he's at mentally in this fight? And I don't know if... I don't want to say quitter, but I just don't know if he's really there to fight the whole fight. And then again, Frevola, but again, Kyle Nelson has a lot of knockout power. He has the size in this fight. This fight definitely does not go the distance. My safest play is this fight does not go the distance, under 2.5. Very confident about that, but I'm going to take a prop for fight ends in round 1. Fight ends by KO in round 1. Very easy breakdown. Go do the homework if you want to double check me, but just the amount of KOs and the durability issues for both of these men, it makes this very easy. I could tell you now their last 2 fights, there's the style of the fights, how they like to throw. They're not durable. They both throw big looping shots, and they have big gaps in their striking game. And they're getting up there in the years. Like, that's just a breakdown. So the under is very easy. And right now the price isn't terrible either. Go ahead and take the under on this. Okay, next up is Cody Gibson versus Qileng. This is okay, I'm going to give you my breakdown. This is a classic clash of styles here in a bantamweight division between Cody Gibson and Qileng. And this one has all the makings of a wild, finish-heavy scrap. Starting with Cody Gibson. He's 38 years old, and at this stage of his career, he's very much a better hammer than he is a nail. When he's the one dictating the fight, he looks great, mixing his wrestling, pressure, and sharp straight shots. But when he's hurt on the back foot or on the bottom, his game tends to unravel. Still, he brings legit wrestling credentials and can use takedowns to bank rounds if the fight goes long. The issue is his submission defense. Gibson has been tapped 5 times in his career, and some of those losses came fairly recently. So while he's dangerous everywhere, he's not the most defensively sound once the fight gets chaotic. On the other side is Qileng, a powerful brawling striker who loves to stand and trade in the pocket. He throws solid volume, has real knockout power, and thrives in exchanges. But he struggles against clean technical strikers and well-timed wrestlers. He's at his best when he can drag his opponents into a firefight and make it ugly. Both of these guys have 11 career losses, and both have defensive vulnerabilities, and both can crack. That's a recipe for violence and a finish. Gibson's wrestling could be the difference maker here and like edges out the victory for him, and hence he's the minus 180 favorite. I feel that's appropriate. But his age and questionable chin, it's risky to trust him to grind safely for 15 minutes. So if I had to pick a side, it's Cody Gibson to get the win. I'm not very confident on that, but I'm more confident this fight ends inside the distance or under 2.5 rounds. Moving on to the next fight. Next up, we have... this is a pretty good women's fight, and yeah, okay. So, we got a ranked matchup in women's flyweight division between Manon Fiorot and Jasmine Jasudavicius, a classic striker versus grappler showdown. Fiorot is one of the most polished kickboxers in the division. She's technical, disciplined, and extremely light on her feet, using crisp lead side kicks and jabs to keep opponents at range. She's already proven that she can hang with elite talent in kickboxing, going toe-to-toe with Valentina Shevchenko, and she's shown continuous improvement, particularly in her defensive grappling. A big development for someone who came up for a pure striker. So really good on Fiorot to make sure she implemented that grappling part of her game, evolve that so she can compete at the highest level, and she competes at the highest level. That's the point of this. On the other side is Jasmine Jasudavicius. She's a dominant top control grappler who can overwhelm almost anyone in the division once she gets the fight to the mat. Her pressure, transitions, and positional awareness are elite for the weight class. The challenge here is that her takedowns usually come from clinch work against the cage, and Fiorot's foot movement makes that extremely difficult to corral her against the cage. Stylistically, it's a rough matchup for Jasmine. Fiorot's constant lateral footwork, range control, and variety of strikes will make it tough for her to close the distance. Expect Fiorot to circle, jab, and land kicks all fight long, while forcing Jasmine to chase her and absorb that volume throughout the fight. And to be clear, Jasmine is a great striker. She's one of the most likable, hardworking athletes in the division. Up with the fighters like Angela Hill and Verna Jandiroba, she's one of my favorite fighters. In terms of effort and toughness, she's second to none in the women's division. Unfortunately, this is a bad matchup because Manon Fiorot has probably the best footwork in the division, period, and she can make sure she avoids being crowded by Jasmine Jasudavicius. I feel like maybe once or twice you might see Manon Fiorot against the cage, and I don't know if Jasmine Jasudavicius is going to be able to convert any of those into takedowns. We'll have to see significant wrestling in open space, open mat wrestling, essentially, for her to get those takedowns, which she's never shown in the past. For that reason, I have to pick Manon Fiorot. I have to pick against Jasmine Jasudavicius here. But really, I'm a big fan of Jasmine. You know, one of my favorite women fighters, straight up. Yeah. I wish I could take Jasmine here. I know a lot of people like her as a dog because she looks dominant against so many women, and she would dominate a lot of these women. It's just Manon Fiorot becomes a very difficult stylistic matchup for her. Manon Fiorot is like a different version of Valentina Shevchenko. Valentina Shevchenko kind of switch between whether she's a grappler that day or a high-level kickboxer. But Manon Fiorot is already high-level kickboxer enough where Jasmine struggles her level of grappling, unfortunately. And she's really good at grappling, you know what I mean? So it's one of those. On to the next one. This one, I think it's great that we get Marlon Chito Vera as an underdog here against Aiemann Zahabi. It might be a big overreaction to Aiemann Zahabi beating Jose Aldo, and everyone loves Jose Aldo. But Aiemann Zahabi's biggest strength is his brain. He is one of the smartest fighters. Unfortunately, his weakness is he's just an average guy. Yeah, you can work as hard as you want. You can put in all the extra times on the mat. But by an average guy, I mean like he's average size, average strength, doesn't have a particularly long reach, has average guy cardio, right? Obviously he trains, but he's not gifted with like an amazing gas tank. He doesn't have amazing power, and he doesn't have a blessed chin. He just has a normal guy's chin. The shots that make him get rocked, you're like, oh yeah, that would rock you. And then he'll eat some good shots where you're like, all right, well, this guy's been in fights before, right? So that's the unfortunate part, because he's really just a normal guy who has the brain of a genius fighter, and that's why he's in all these fights. Kind of like a Mario Batista, but Mario Batista is more gifted physically in most ways than Aiemann Zahabi is. So that's kind of what Zahabi is. So I want you to understand what you're dealing with here, because cerebral fighters are my favorite type of fighters. Because a cerebral fighter is very hard to beat. They might not always win, but they're very hard to beat, if you know what I mean, because like they don't get defeated. Like you're not going to dominate anyone where like they'll just always be working through something. They'll always be doing the next thing they have to do, and you can stay more active than them. You can beat them because you're a better athlete. Like you can win because you're a better athlete. You put on more pace, but you'll never have those dominant positions. And you can see that a lot in the Merab Dvalishvili fights and his division. A lot of great fighters there, but he's just a better athlete. So at the end of the day, like he's gonna outwork them. Like I do think Corey Sandhagen's a better mixed martial artist than Merab Dvalishvili, but Merab Dvalishvili is a freak athlete, and at the end, Corey Sandhagen's not that much better of a mixed martial artist. Like Merab doesn't have those gaps where he could take advantage of anything, right? So it comes down to those things sometimes, and maybe some of you understand what I'm saying. Some of you won't agree with that. You'll be right to the comments and saying this guy's crazy. Some of you get exactly what I'm trying to say. But anyways, before I digress any further, let's get back to this fight with Chito Vera. Chito Vera is known to be a slow starter, hence I think he's the underdog here, because Aiemann Zahabi's known to be smart, cerebral, steal close fights, like he did against Jose Aldo. And then Marlon Vera is known to be very slow to start and lose fights on the scorecards. But Marlon Vera has been, he said he's very aware of that fights have slipped away because he's a slow starter. He's attributed that to his training regimen. Excuse me. And he said particularly it's because of the way he trains cardio. He does like long runs. And because of that, he starts slow and then he picks up the run as he goes. He fights in a similar way. He's like, he shouldn't do that. So he's switched to start doing more high intensity training and sprint training and interval training. So he can push a higher pace more often and more frequently without the risk of getting tired. And now Chito Vera has been in these 5-round fights more frequently than he's been in 3-round fights. He'll benefit from being in a 3-round fight here against a fighter that we've seen get tired in the 3rd round of all of his 3-round fights. So I automatically see Marlon Chito Vera banking that 3rd round. As long as he can just pocket the first 1 or 2, he wins the fight. And also in terms of finishing upside, the finishing upside is completely with Chito Vera. He has all the strength in the world and power and precision to land those big moment shots because he's known for his big moments, not really his big volume. And this guy is durable. I've seen him take some of the most insane, loudest, cracking shots like that Sean O'Malley knee, and the guy doesn't even flinch. He doesn't even hit the ground. So Chito Vera really trusts his chin and durability. Don't see a 37-year-old Aiemann Zahabi getting him out of there. He couldn't even get a 41-year-old Jose Aldo out of there. So I see all the upside in Marlon Vera as an underdog here. He's probably not going to be an underdog by the time he gets to Saturday, so make sure you try to get that early. But yeah, I love Marlon Chito Vera here in this spot against Aiemann Zahabi. Moving on to the next one, we have a co-main event with Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. I am not betting this fight, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I can't tell you if this fight ends inside the distance. I can't tell you if it goes the distance, right? Because we've seen Kevin Holland lose on the scorecard. He just lost to Rodriguez when people thought he would just absolutely finish him. We've seen him get robbed like that, okay? We've seen Mike Malott dominate and go to scorecards win, but then we've seen him finish and choke in the third round, right? We've seen him get explosive finishes. He's gotten finished in the first round, second round, third round, and he's won on scorecards. Kevin Holland, he'll win fights he's supposed to win. He'll lose fights that were supposed to be slam dunks. So I don't know what's going to happen. Both these guys can get knockouts. Both these guys can get submissions. Look at the way they break down their fights. So there's no single prop I can even point you at to get value. So it really comes down to let's pick a side. I would probably just pick Malott because he's Canadian. He's working harder. He looks like he had a new coming to form after losing to Neil Magny in that embarrassing fashion the last time in Canada. Since then, he's had one or two impressive performances. He got that finish, and I think he understands what's at stake here, and I think he needs to make it right in front of the Canadian fans. And I think he's going to bring the fight to Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland has shown us that he'll kind of just stay on his back foot, be timid in these fights. He likes to get paid. He's okay with losing. He's not okay with fighting hurt or getting hurt. And for an even money fight, give me the more motivated fighter fighting at home who has all the skill set in the world, probably is wearing less damage to get the win. Now I know Kevin Holland's the bigger fighter here, and I do know there's a risk of Kevin Holland pulling off one of his Dar submissions or his guillotine anaconda chokes, because that's the submission finish upside for Kevin Holland against Mike Malott. But I don't see it as too much of a risk. So I'm going to go with Mike Malott, but low confidence, not betting any money on this fight personally. I'm not parlaying with anything. This is the hardest fight, in my opinion, to predict on the card. If you think you can make a prediction for this fight, by all means, make your prediction, drop it in the comments, leave a like, and let's move on to the main event. And now for our main event of the evening, we have the middleweight bout between Reinier De Ridder and Brendan Allen. This fight was originally supposed to take place between Reinier De Ridder and Fluffy Hernandez. Fluffy had to pull out due to an injury, and Brendan Allen was able to step up on about 6 weeks' notice to fight Reinier De Ridder, knowing that whoever wins this likely gets that title shot against Khamzat Chimaev. I don't think Brendan Allen's ready yet. Brendan Allen's had success. He's been on main events against fighters who are just cracking that top 10. Reinier De Ridder has proven he belongs here. I think he wasn't even thinking about Brendan Allen, but the UFC's just like, hey, here, we need an event. You want to stay active. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting the whole time, and it's not guaranteed the next fight's Khamzat. You beat this guy, we'll give you Khamzat. So I think Reinier De Ridder says, okay, I beat this guy. I'm going to get my fight against Khamzat, and then Fluffy probably fights for the title no matter what after that, is the way I see this working out. And Reinier De Ridder essentially has Brendan Allen beat everywhere except in the boxing, except Brendan Allen's more of a piece you up, break you down, slowly break your nose, break your jaw, and then I can finish you late. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the cardio himself to sustain that fighting style for 25 minutes, not even 15 minutes, to be honest. That's why even in fights against like Chris Curtis was able to come back into that fight. And I don't think Chris Curtis belongs anywhere in the top 15 in the division. So, that's my honest input about that. Brendan Allen also has the threat of the jiu-jitsu in his back pocket that's helped him in his previous fights. He does not have a threat of jiu-jitsu in this fight against Reinier De Ridder. Reinier De Ridder is going to be like, yo, floor is lava, my boy. Like, let's go to the ground. You'll see what happens. It'll be over very quick. Night. And Reinier De Ridder does not have to worry about any threat from Brendan Allen because I think he wins the jiu-jitsu everywhere unless Brendan Allen somehow ends up on his back. And I don't mean like, oh, he works his way there, because I don't think Ridder would ever allow that to happen. Mirror Shark couldn't do it. A lot of people could have tried. And we've seen Reinier De Ridder also pin Bo Nickel to the mat. So I like his grappling to also outwork Brendan Allen's grappling. I wouldn't be surprised if Reinier De Ridder comes in here, brings the fight to Brendan Allen, grapples him, and just submits him on his own. If he does that, if he brings the fight to Brendan Allen and just submits him in the first like 1 or 2 rounds, that tells you that he's coming into it, he's improving, and he wants to send a message to the rest of the division that he's here to get finishes, he's here to fight for the title. He is the champion of his division. If he's here and going in with a tone that like, hey, I want the opportunity to fight the champion, not that I am the champion, then yeah, he'll fight Brendan Allen for 4 or 5 rounds, and he'll dominate the majority of that, and he'll especially bank the 4th and 5th round for sure. I have confidence in him to win any of the first 3 rounds whenever he wants, if he puts in for it. Yeah, he could throw around, he might throw 2, it's possible, but 4th and 5th are completely his. Finishing upside on the mat is all Reinier De Ridder's. Brendan Allen could knock out Reinier, but if Whittaker couldn't do it, don't really see it for Brendan Allen unless he's able to piece him up with a lot of early shots, maybe shatter his nose early. That's what could lead to the potential upset. We know 2-3 minutes into the fight, Allen lands a good 1-2 that kind of wakes De Ridder up, wobbles him, but shatters his nose. It's going to affect his breathing. It's going to affect his ability to grapple. It's going to affect a lot. It might even affect his eyesight, right? If he can get an orbital. Those are the type of shots that could happen that can completely change this fight. So keep that in mind. But others, I did the zoom thing again. Wait, but I think I figured out how to zoom out. Pop. Did I do it? Wait. No. Did I do it? Oh, no. No. All right, well, zoomed out a bit. Shit. Damn it. I don't know. Oh, yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, we did it, guys. All right, anyways. For the last fight, too. So, well, there we go. But I like Reinier De Ridder easily to win this fight. Very high confidence. I think minus 225, minus 250 is a gift. I would play Reinier De Ridder all the way up to minus 300, to be honest. I like Reinier De Ridder inside the distance. And as the prop bet, I like it in round 4 or 5, so you can squeeze out the most value. I don't want to say by submission. A lot of people are just jumping on by submission because as Allen wears down, Ridder could just like use the knee combo, use the knees again, just like he did against Bo Nickel to break down the body and eventually drop Allen. And what I also like about De Ridder's stand-up is he's shown in both the Whittaker fight and the Bo Nickel fight that he can make adjustments between rounds in the striking, completely come out with a different style, and give his opponent trouble. In the Bo Nickel fight, he started throwing in those knees and started coming up and doing this awkward style where he just kept marching forward, those kind of knees, a weird Sean Strickland style. But that was stopping Bo Nickel from getting the looks he wanted to get those quick shots off. And he kept finding himself backing up, looking for the right shot, and then he would eat shots. And he took that knee against the fence, and he went down, and the fight was over. So I really like seeing those adjustments from De Ridder. He also made adjustments against Whittaker, where he would pull Whittaker into the shots that he was eating and continue to back up, but he would pivot off that lead side because Whittaker's known to punch and then lean over. So what Reinier was doing is when he would shoot, stand tall, and then he would pull back on his rear leg and then throw the shots back. So he made those adjustments live on the fly when he wasn't doing it early in the fights. I really like to see that because it shows you're a cerebral fighter and you know what you're doing. Again, and Brendan Allen on the other side has shown sometimes he can make dumb moves. He might jump, pull guillotine, pull guard. He's done them in previous fights, doesn't do it as much. But then he'll do nonsense where he'll just box against a fighter that he can't box with. He might go out here and try to grapple against Reinier to just be like, yo, you think you can grapple me? Do you know how many submissions I have? And then he gets submitted. So I don't even trust the IQ of Brendan Allen. So really confident in De Ridder here. And those are the prop bets that I'd be going with. And yeah, I forgot to put the slide together for that. Sorry about that, guys. But what are some of the best bets you think we should have? I definitely like the let's go here. I'm gonna go through my list of my favorite bets right now. I like Manon Fiorot, and the prop is Manon Fiorot by decision. I like that one a lot, unfortunately, for those Jasmine Jasudavicius fans. I like Charles Jourdain, money line to get it done at home. Go Charles, bring it home. We got, I like Bruno Silva as a dog, and I like Djorden Santos as an underdog if you're looking for underdog picks specifically. Those are my 2 favorite underdog picks on the card. I think Reinier De Ridder is almost a lock, so that's another favorite. Reinier De Ridder, Charles Jourdain, Manon Fiorot, great favorites. Uh, I like the under in the Kyle Nelson fight and the Matt Frevola fight, under 1.5 rounds. Specifically, I like the KO in the first round or method of victory to be end by KO as -170. I think that's a great prop as well. Those are my top picks. So those 6 picks I just gave out, 4 of them which are favorites. So it's Charles Jourdain, Reinier De Ridder, and we have who is our and Manon Fiorot. Those are the 3 favorite moneyline picks. We also, oh my God, you guys are doing this. Zoom out. Zoom out. Come on, come on. Zoom out. Damn it. Whatever, guys. It is what it is. I'm gonna figure this out eventually. I use too much hand movement. That's really my problem. I gotta stop using my hand movement in this one. But yeah, anyways, Charles Jourdain, Manon Fiorot, Reinier De Ridder, under 1.5 on Matt Frevola and Kyle Nelson. Underdogs, we like Bruno Silva at plus 240, and then we like Djorden Santos at plus 240 because I think Danny Barlow is going to get walked down, and I think he's going to get worked, and Santos can win it by breaking him by KO. He can break him late, and he can win on the scorecards. And Bruno Silva, I think, is just great value for what you're getting him at. That's the breakdown. Make sure you like the video, leave comments on what you think the picks are. If you have a solution for me to fix this webcam thing, give me a tutorial, a link I can follow. Let me know. Still trying to figure this stuff out and just a new setup and whatnot. But really appreciate you guys for the views. Thank you for all the likes that you guys are doing. And I'm really surprised by how much that the channel has grown. So thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Cheers. See you next time.